Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by the NMFTA. Let me ask you a question. Do you ship LTL freight? Then listen up, because the NMFC changes went live on July 19th, and they're the biggest updates in the history of freight classification. Now more than ever, accuracy matters. That's why carriers, shippers, and brokers alike are turning to Class IT Plus, the NMFTA's new digital platform for real-time NMFC data. Stop guessing, start classifying smarter, and quote freight with confidence. It's time to get your ship together because the NMFC changes are already here. Learn more at nmfcchanges.com and get started with Class IT Plus at classitplus.com. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
That rhymed, and it gets me every time. But, you know, we're out here, TIA Capital Ideas Conference, and what from your perspective, you know, coming here as an attendee, right? Like, you guys do a lot of in-person events with the NMFTA. What are some of those things that you guys are seeing now about, like, how you guys can go back into a lot of your current initiatives and start, you know, maybe applying some of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the theme that we've heard over and over, I think it's every session, has talked about two things: freight fraud and AI.
Yeah.
And they play together, right? And so part of this is us really looking at what our initiatives are, and do our initiatives align with what the problems are in the industry?
Yeah.
Are we solving those? And is there anything that we're missing? So for us, it's a lot of reinforcement that, okay, we are on the right path, but there's also been a couple things that have come up. It's like, hey, that's a really good idea. We need to partner with this person, because, I mean, you've heard us say it over and over. You know, one person's or one organization's not going to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a team sport, and we need to go get together as a group to solve these problems.
How do you think, you know, how do you think we got here as an industry? Because it's like, I've been hearing, you know, freight fraud, theft, AI for the last 36 months, right? Like, it's been a thing, but it's like, I think a lot of people we're being very reactive to it in a sense,
right.
I think, as an industry, but it's like, how did we get to this point?
You know, one of the things about this industry is it's built on trust and relationships, which is a great thing. I mean, it's one of the things that attracts you to the industry. But that trust has been broken. And I think there was so much trust, and a lot of people thought, hey, I'm a small shipper, I'm a small broker, I'm a small carrier, I'm really not a target. So I think there was a level of comfort, and that caught us off guard, because they thought, oh, I'm just not a big target. So I think the trust factor that's always been there, and then, you know, a false sense of security.
Yeah. I can see that, right? Because it's like, you do get so ingrained, and, you know, you might have had a shipment go south one time, and, you know, you didn't think anything of it, and then it happened again and again, and then you're more reacting to the situation as opposed to like proactively stopping and be like, all right, what are we doing that's allowing this to happen? And I think like they're trying to, and then most people now, they wait for so long, they feel like they're drinking from a fire hose where it's like they can't stop the bleeding at this point. So it's like, do you think that, from your guys' perspective, is there a common trend that you think a lot of these criminals are following and that's why they're able to do it and continue to do it?
Yeah, I think the common trend that they're following is they follow the money.
Yeah.
And they look for what is the weakest link in the chain. And so the trend, they're using the same old tactics, phishing.
Yeah.
Right. And they're using the same tactics as they've always, but they're going after maybe the weakest link within. Maybe it's a carrier, maybe it's the shipper, maybe it's the broker, but they are using the weakest link. And then the other thing that's happened is, we're moving towards digitalization.
Yeah.
And that's just allowed them to be able to get in, and then AI allows them to move faster.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just been a perfect storm of sorts.
Do you think, because like I see, like it's almost like the criminal playbook out there, Joe, whether it's cyber, in-person, freight theft, it's always that path of least resistance. Like it seems like they're obviously going to always look for the easiest way, the quickest access to money, because it's like today it's not certain commodities anymore. It's all commodities. And I look at it, you got to start almost thinking like a criminal as a transportation provider now. How easy would it be to liquidate this load if this load of X got stolen and compromised?
Oh yeah. And it's not, I always joke around, hey, Beverly Hills Cop, right? What got stolen? It was the truck full of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Why? Easy to distribute. Then you saw electronics get stolen. But now they're looking at, okay, what can I sell at the local flea market? What can I offload quickly? So we're seeing everything from almonds to crab meat to Kit Kat bars.
Yeah.
We're seeing the things that maybe don't have serial numbers.
Yeah.
And, the bad actors are lazy.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is they're going to find what is the easiest thing to do? How can I get the money the easiest? Yeah. And, a truck full of almonds is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you can offload it really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's all about what can I do to make the money the quickest, get in, get out, and be gone.
Yeah. And I think, it's like, again, they're not worried about a profit margin, right? Like they're looking at a load and it might be $250,000. They're not waiting for $250,000. They're looking for whatever multiplier makes sense. It's all profit for them, right? So whether it's 5, 10, 15, 50 grand, whatever it goes for, I truly think they're looking at it as how fast can we get rid of this? And I think most of this stuff, Joe, is already sold and gone before the stolen load even delivers to the fake warehouse that it's supposed to go to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is truly run as a business. And just like any other business, you don't buy something to resell until you have a seller.
Yeah.
And so I think, they know what they want. They go after it, and they've already got a person to go ahead and redistribute that. And, we heard things on at our last cyber conference where, somebody was stole a load from Amazon, and it ended up back on Amazon resale.
Yeah.
And so you hear things like that. It's just amazing how quickly they are flipping these.
Do you think that, and maybe this is something, if you can't talk about this with the Freight Fraud Prevention Hub, getting like the FBI and CIA and whomever involved, I don't know if the CIA has everything to do with this, but with the FBI, looking at and auditing those Amazon resellers to see, are those people who are selling stuff on there, are they a legitimate business? And then can they start tracking a lot of that stuff? Or has Amazon inadvertently created a visible black market now where you can just go to their app and you're knowingly buying stolen goods?
I think it's a visible black market.
Yeah.
And I think that what needs to happen is hold these people accountable.
Yeah.
So there does need to be some sort of vetting.
Yeah.
But I think it's so broad that they don't know how to tackle it. But yeah, I think there does need to be some sort of vetting of, okay, how can this be sold for half the price that everybody else is selling it for?
Yeah.
You keep hearing if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But I mean, as I know, when you buy something, you always hear, oh, it's receiving stolen goods. It's receiving stolen goods. But then, if you buy it from like a retailer, like in Amazon, it's like you're probably protected.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful who you're buying from, whether it's within their marketplace. It's a lot of people think, oh, it's just Facebook Marketplace or it's just Craigslist. It's really broader than that.
Yeah. Because it's like I look at this is like I'm never going to sit here and say we're going to stop and end any of this stuff, because I think none of us are naive to think crime is just going to cease to exist, right? But I look at pattern recognition, and again, maybe I look at it in business. There's a system that you need to develop and curate and follow, and that's where you can grow your business and everything else. Do you think that there's a system out there where there's a minimization effect, we can call it, to fraud and theft? Like there's a system that the industry should be adhering to. And I know it's hard to get every independent operator on the same page, but like I look at with where things are, and it's like we got to stop holding things in jest to think that like, oh, I don't want my information to get out there, right? I think like collectively we got to come together here, because I think somebody holds the key to that 80 to 90% drop in freight fraud.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. That's really what we're focused on. And I don't think it's a single solution.
Yeah.
So for example, we launched Freight Fraud Prevention Hub.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, a lot of people joining. And part of that is just to give visibility to the problem, get like-minded people talking about this issue. That's the same thing we saw in cyber back 5 years ago, was people did not want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people doing great things with Freight Fraud Prevention Hub that are partners of ours. And then I think the other thing is we're launching at the end of the month. It's called the NMFTA Threat Portal.
Mm-hmm.
And what this does is, originally we're like, okay, this is a place to report cybercrime.
Yeah.
But we've expanded it to say, hey, this is a place to talk about freight fraud and report freight fraud. And the reason that that's so important is it allows, first of all, when freight fraud happens, about it. Yeah. How the bad actor did it, what they did, where it happened, and it'll automatically tell your peers, hey, this just happened. So instead of having to say, okay, this just happened to me, who's the 20 people I need to call? You enter it's in there. The other thing is, once you close the event, there's some additional questions that we ask you. And the reason that we're asking is we want to find the trends.
Yeah.
We want to say, okay, 90% of the freight fraud happens in this way, because that way we can address the issue. It's just like, building a product or doing anything else. We can only help solve the problem, or at least make the problem better, if we have the information. So the Freight Fraud Portal and NMFTA Threat Portal is a way to get that information. Then I think the last thing is standards.
Yeah.
If we could come up with some standards, that's not just standards from a cyber perspective, but it's also standards from a digitalization. I know you're going to talk to Keith later.
Yeah.
But it's talking about, how you communicate, how via API. And I mean, that is almost, for example, to me, a key to the door that you got to have between the shipper, the broker, and the carrier. And if you're not using those standards, it's probably pass on the business.
I think, and this is the data, because I'm sure you guys are working on this as well. I want to see the actual data between digital transactions and stolen loads, i.e., they're emailing, nobody's actually picking up the phone. I want to see what that number is, because I think that if we were to actually peel back all of these layers here, Joe, and again, when money gets involved, everybody's trying to make a dollar, right?
Right.
But I look at it is it's like, how do we minimize this? And I think, again, there's a system that these guys are following. They're finding that path of least resistance. What does that look like? What are these guys saying on the phone? And I bet if we pulled phone recordings, all this data,
right,
I bet you there's 3 different variations of how this is doing, of how it's done. Because I look at, I've been brokering freight for over 15 years. I can tell within about 5 seconds of talking to some of these guys who's full of it and who is not. So that's why it's I'm more and more convinced that they're looking at different angles here. All right. They're using an AI bot to be a carrier rep. I'm not knocking on any of these companies who are trying to develop it, but like, is that the exposure point now? Or digital transactions, are they going in and emailing only, and then they're going through, and then the carrier reps copying the MC, looking it up in the system, like, oh, it's a green light, sending it out. They're not doing any secondary checks behind any of this. So it's like, I would love to see freight theft data, and where is that? Where are they getting into it?
I agree 100%. And if we have that data, we can help develop a solution.
Yeah.
If we don't have the data, we're guessing at what we believe. But I agree with you. I think that, how they screen the carriers, that screening process is so important. But I think some of the people don't maybe not know. I mean, you and I talked about it offline, and you were telling me, hey, here's how I screen.
Yeah.
And it's like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But some people don't do that. I mean, I know even me personally, if I'm getting something shipped, like a vehicle, I do a lot of screening.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, this rate's not too good to be true.
Yeah.
And I don't do everything through email. I want phone, I want to pick up the phone and I want to have phone conversations.
Yeah.
And so I think, that almost falls into a best practices. And part of this is getting the data so that we can develop guidebooks and best practices. But again, it takes everyone who's willing to step forward and say, hey, this happened to me. This is how it happened. Help me solve this problem.
Yeah. I look at, because we had Todd with Estes on the show, with you a couple months back there. And I look at them as almost a beacon of, like, a company needs to look at it like this. If Estes can come out after a major cyber breach and say, this is how it happened, this is what we fixed, this is what we learned from it. If they can do that, every company should be willing to do it, because their brand didn't falter, right? Like they're
right.
Still like, so it's like, I look at it is people need to stop thinking like it's going to be damaging to their company. I think it's going to be more damaging the more you try and conceal it at this point, right? Like when we're talking, I mean, is it like $100 billion a year in freight?
Yeah.
It's still like we're not talking small sums of money anymore. This isn't petty criminals that are doing this. And again, we need to share this information to curb it, right? Like, you don't have to be the one who is right or wrong here. We need to put this stuff out here as an industry to really help take back control of this transaction, because I'll be the first one to admit it, man. Most of these fraudulent actors, they're in control right now. They're in the driver's seat. They have the system figured out. It's us as an industry's failure to take necessary steps forward to stop it. That's why it's still a thing, I think.
I agree. And, when you say it, and I know I'll be completely transparent. One of the challenges we have right now is the legal departments.
Yeah.
And I know they're doing their job, and it's not a bash on them, but we had a dozen CIOs, CTOs on a call, and we're talking about the freight fraud or NMFTA threat portal. And, one of the people made a comment. They're like, man, I want to see all this data, because we're saying you cannot see the data unless you sign up. And if you sign up, you're committing to giving us this data. And they said, I want to see it all, but I don't know if my legal is going to let me submit it.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten to the point where I think we've convinced the CIOs, the CISOs, the CTOs, hey, we are better as a team. We are better if we all communicate this. Now I think it's just convincing the legal departments, right? That, hey, coming out and communicating this, even if it's anonymously, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the industry, and it'll help you down the road. Because a lot of times we're not asking on the threat portal just to submit things where they've actually gotten money. It's like, how have you stopped them? Hey, we had these 5 attacks and we stopped them all, and this is how it happened. The thought of this growing so fast, and the thought of, hey, I'm going to keep this all inside, or the legal departments don't want me to share it, we'll keep it anonymous, but we really want the information so that we can find the trends.
I think money talks, Joe, and I think that a lot more companies would be on board if they understood how much of a positive financial influence it would have on their company long term, the faster we curb this, right? Because it's like the more we allow a lot of this stuff to go on in the industry. And I understand the federal argument, like DOT, FMCSA, they've had more attention on this issue than I've ever seen in my life, and they're going to continue to look at this. But like at some point, as an industry, we got to come forward with this. Is like, how many more businesses could we save if we put this out? How many? Because 95% of the trucks on the road are 10 truck or less operations. How many of them are on the verge of bankruptcy because they're falling victim to double brokered loads, fraud? They're not going to get paid. How many legitimate brokers that are out there right now are one claim away from going out of business because we're not sharing these best practices as an industry? And I think like the faster we can curb a lot of this behavior and make it so blatantly obvious to the masses, like this is what they're doing out there, that's going to stop it, right? Like, or not, maybe not stop it. It's going to minimize it to where this is what is going to make, I think this is what's going to make freight more profitable out there, because I don't know. I just see like there's got to be a financial metric here that most businesses need to see, Joe, where they're like, all right, now we're bought in. If you can prove this, here's our information.
Yeah. It's just like what cyber was 5 years ago is how much does one cyber event cost you? Yeah, we've seen where it's shut down trucking companies that were 50 years old.
Yeah.
And it's the same as this. And what happens is if you put up enough walls, you make the bad actor's job that much harder. Again, criminals are lazy.
Yep.
Right? They're going to move on to something else. And they're going to be like, yep, got it, done. Now we're out.
Yeah.
And again, I don't expect it to go away. But the other thing is, yeah, you're right. The FMCSA is being much more aggressive. We're hearing more and more what's being done, but we'll also see the bad actors evolve.
Yeah.
And so we've got to make sure we stay one step ahead of that evolution, because we don't want to be in the same situation you asked about in the beginning where, okay, how do we get here?
Yeah.
5 years ago, I don't want to have this conversation 5 years from now and say, God, we all thought we're so comfortable because FMCSA was making these changes. Again, they'll make a big difference.
Yeah.
And kudos to them for doing what they're doing, but we can't get that false sense of security.
Yeah. The solution is in the private sector. It's not going to come from, you've been in DC for a while. Bureaucracy is slow and it takes a very long time. And the way that things are evolving right now, and then especially with advancements in technology, it's only going to make it easier for them, right? So it's like, I think like the time is now, because most businesses are one stolen load away from going out of business, right? I mean, how many people can stroke $100,000 check right now and then not have it financially collapse their operation? Not a lot,
That's
so
right.
it's like we have to come to a solution here. I think we know the solution, Joe. I just think more people, it's ego and legal. We'll call it ego and legal, like you're talking about there, that are looking at this, because again, the most tried and true methods that I personally adhere to inside of my operation are extremely simple. Because it's like, criminals are lazy, like you said. They want the path of least resistance. They want that person who clearly doesn't care about their job at all, and they're just going through the motions and everything else. They don't want to have to jump through hoops. So it's like, I think the sooner that we get to that, and then again, you look downstream from it with what you guys are doing with the threat portal, that data right there is going to be probably the most valuable data that is out there, because you guys are going to be able to tell, is it a digital thing? What is it? You're going to be able to pinpoint what's going on, and then you're going to be able to go out there to the industry and be like, this is where X% of the fraud and double brokering is being let into your organization.
Right. And it's, again, data is a key. I mean, we can't solve a problem without completely understand the problem. And, you'll have people say, oh, this is what we get from this sector or this sector, whether it be, insurance or FBI. But so much of this is underreported.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a stat where it's like 10% is reported, because again, people kind of hide behind it because they're like, oh, then I got to put my name. It could impact my reputation. We really want people to report it. And again, keep your name out of it. It's not what we want.
Yeah.
We want the data so that we can help make sure we're solving the problem.
Yeah. And that's it, right? Like, again, everything's systemized, in my opinion. The criminals right now, everything, they have a system down. They know how to get it, and they know how to liquidate it at a high level. And I look at it, there's no excluded commodities at this point. It doesn't matter. Everything's on the table. It's the path of least resistance. How do they get rid of it? How do they sell it out there? And it's like, I think like we're at a unique time where it's like, and I'll be talking with Keith about this here, is, like the digital aspect of things, right? Like, having all systems speaking the exact same language, and again, making it harder. And and I also look at it like the non-fear of repercussions is a very real thing. Like I was watching something a couple weeks back, and one of these guys who was stealing freight, and then he had made like I think over $10 million. He got sentenced to a year in prison. He's like, it was worth every penny. A year in prison, right? So it's like, again, there's no fear of repercussions. So if we're looking at it from that standpoint as well, I'm a firm believer that you got to drop. If we're going to drop the hammer from a compliance standpoint, we should drop the hammer from a repercussion standpoint. Send somebody to prison for 50 years.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I know. Last year, was there last year, or the year before, when I went to the conference, that was one of the things that was talked about is the revolving door of the people that they found guilty.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. If you stole $10 million from a bank, how much time would you get in jail?
10 years? Exactly.
So why is it different if you steal $10 million worth of almonds?
Yeah.
So we've got to show examples.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, if someone said to you, hey, a year in jail, but you're going to make $10 million, there's a lot of people that say, I'd take that.
Yeah, I'll take a year in jail for $10 million. I'll take a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's
worth the risk.
No, and that's it, right? And especially if with anybody who has, I'm not saying all fraud and theft comes from foreign actors, but it's like if the money's out of the country and everything else, and you're like, oh, I'll spend a year here in prison and I go fly back to wherever I'm from, or I have the money offshore and then I can access it through encrypted whatever. There's a lot of people out there, and especially in today's economy,
right? And a lot of times it's the person spending the year in jail. It may be the person executing the crime, but not orchestrating the crime.
Yeah.
And so, I always think of, you see some of these big corporate companies that, the CEO doesn't go to jail.
Yeah.
It's usually the guy that did the accounting.
Yeah.
That gets sold up the river. And that person, I'll spend a year in jail for $10 million, and then the CEO is going to take care of me afterwards. I mean, again, think of this as a corporation, as a business.
Yes.
And I think the other thing is getting the people that are actually orchestrating it.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, like you said, a lot of times these people aren't in the United States.
Yeah. No, it is. And that's the thing is that's why we got to keep telling the story. And I mean, I truly think you guys are taking it on from a three-pronged approach here, and really it's not a one size fits all. You guys have identified that where it's like, hey, there's multiple exposure points here, and the faster we can get to a collective understanding of that and get everybody on the same standards, the better off I think the entire industry is going to be. But Joe, I appreciate your time, and it's funny we've done so many of these. I feel like we could go for like another 2 hours. There's never a shortage of things to talk about. But I appreciate. How does anybody find out about the threat portal though? Where can they go for that?
You can go to nmfta.org. And we'll be doing a press release here shortly.
Okay.
Giving more information on the threat portal. So sign up for updates, and we'd be sure to send you updates. But if you keep an eye on our website, and definitely you'll see the link from our website to the threat portal.
Perfect. Joe, I appreciate it. If you guys can't find that out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with my friends at the NMFTA. But that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. If you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything.